Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and today is Tuesday, January 26th, and another, interesting day. A lot of things to talk about, so I'll try to talk quickly in this video. But before we get to the theme of the day, which how can you not talk about, what's kind of going on in GameStop and a lot of the short interest names, because it's really not just GameStop. It is a lot of just anything with high short interest is kind of being hunted, I think is the right term right now in terms of what we're seeing on the tape. So let's talk about the first. I'll just give a overview of the performance for the day. SPY, and I'll blow this up. And by the way, if ever this video is blurry, it just hasn't had time to render the high definition version. So, you can close this and wait another 10-15 minutes. Sometimes it does take a half hour, but I don't know. YouTube seems to be taking longer than usual to do these videos. In any event, the Qs finished positive for the day. Both SPY and the Qs, really didn't move that much for the day. Just down 17 basis points. If you to just see what I mean here, if you just look at the performance on the 5-minute chart, or on the 1 hour, that's fine too. But you could see nothing but basically chop for the overall index. Again, opening here, closing here, and really the level to watch for tomorrow is 38. Call it 3858. You could see that we had a little bit of difficulty with this around I think the first hour of the day, or 9 o'clock this morning, right? So this is a little bit sticky over here. 3858, you can round up on this. So that is your level. Again, I always try to give levels to watch in these videos. These are based on the value areas, which provide, really good, significant resistance and support levels that we use over and over. I tend to use these a lot on the 1 hour time frame as well as the daily, right? They are based on the market profile of the previous period. So we're weighting time, volume, and price together to come up with these levels that are significant, right? So that's again 3858 would be the level to watch for tomorrow. Qs, similar thing going on here. They are moving a little bit here after hours based on the results. I'll go through those too because that's interesting too. The results that we just had from Microsoft, really good quarter. But you could see over the day, not much move again, right? So it appears that all the attention for now is on just names with high short interest, anything, and some momentum names too. But I think the majority of the moves, even though some of them very astounding, are very high momentum. On the high range of momentum, as well as short interest, right? So there's the Qs. Again, not much of a move during the day. Here's IWM as well, just so you can see what this looked like. A little bit of profit taking probably in, you could say, in IWM, right? So IWM was down 70 basis points, and that sold off about 1.4% through the day. Bonds, not a factor for the day. Not much going on there after a big day yesterday. And the VIX, a non-factor for the day, too. As you would think, kind of sideways price action, right? So if we look at a couple observations kind of came from today. So first of all, retail. Look at what this did for the day. Why is this up? Why is this ETF, which I talked about yesterday, really an abnormal amount? Because GameStop is now becoming a big weight in this thing. Remember, this is an equally weighted ETF. That means every name gets the same amount. They should all get about 1% of the weight. Now, the ETF provider and MSCI, who's the underlying index manager, I believe, or is it S&P? It might be S&P Global for this. They set the weights once a quarter. They do that on quarterly expiration, which comes December, March, June. Did I say December, March, June, and September? Right. So those are the only time. That's when the funds reweight the ETFs. Right. That's that quarterly index rebalance that I always talk about during quadruple witching. So in the meantime, so this was done December. The weights will float around based on the one variable, which is price. Right. So if we look at how the XRT is weighted, you could see now that GameStop, and it's rallying a lot after hours because Elon tweeted about it, will probably be about 7% of the ETF, right? And you could see where all the other ones, there's a couple other big performers in here. Magnite, BLNK, Children's Place, these names have rallied. Stitch Fix, DBI is another one with high short interest, right? So that's why they're bigger weights, is because the share count stays the same the whole quarter, but the variable is the price. The more the price goes up, the bigger weight you're going to have in an index. That's basically how that works. So that's why you see now this big move in GameStop, and this was in XRT. I mean, again, a huge move. I was calling this possibly a blow off top yesterday, but clearly that's not right because you could see that the price action is basically almost back to yesterday's high for the whole group. The pot stocks were also up decently. The clean energy stocks were up again today. Not again, but they had some strength today. Things like, I just mentioned this Blink Energy, right? Very strong. This thing got through the top of value, which is 54, up 32% for the day. So that's what I mean in terms of high short interest, right? Well, let's see. What's the short interest in Blink? Or if not, then I would phrase it as high momentum, right? But if we look at Blink, yeah, the short interest is 25%. That's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm that. 25% of the float, right? So any of these names, with high short interest are doing this. Also, Fuel Cell and Plug had a good day. Plug, there's an offering, so they're selling stock based into the strength the company is. But these things Plug got right back to 52-week highs. All right, and then of course things like Virgin Galactic up 17%. So it's tough. I'm not complaining about what is going on here. I'm a little bit worried, I think, about where this is going to lead to. Profits for many people who are trading these things and trading them very fast, but a lot of call activity in these things. Smile Direct STC was up 9%, but there's a handful of names up 20 to 30%. So the question becomes: is that I think perhaps my concern is I'm looking past a day trade, and how is this going to kind of how is this going to be sustained over, for not just today or tomorrow, but a couple weeks ahead. I don't know if it's sustainable, and that's kind of the issue that I have, is that these are very, very big moves, right? And it's very interesting to see option activity. Like, here's another name too, and I don't have this position on any longer, but this is, up 81% today, and they're buying calls all the way up, right? They're buying calls, not just like the smart money calls. And by the way, there has been calls which actually got me into this position, which, by the way, I sold yesterday. I sold a lot of positions yesterday. This was one of them. So you could laugh at me, but it happens because I was de-risking yesterday, and I'll come back to that in a second. But they're buying calls all the way up here today, just consistent buying calls. So there's 3 VPOCs taken out. Could this retrace a little bit more? Of course it could. But yeah, so if you can kind of, jump on some of these freight trains that are moving and use a trailing stop, because you can make a decent amount of money in a short amount of time. And right now, that's the name of the game, I think. So that's a couple names that I think are just kind of crazy and interesting to look at. But what's interesting is breadth. Meaning, right? So I'm talking about all the names that had the high short interest that went up. There wasn't a lot of other things going on. For example, if you look at overall market breadth, which I have a screen up here, right? If you look at the advancers, you forget about the Dow because it's only 30 names. But if you look at the S&P, look at the decliners, 320 to 184. Right? Look at the decliners for the NASDAQ today, 1,800 versus 1,000 advancers. So what I'm getting at is it really is these crazy moves in short interest names, which will eventually run out of short interest. I talked about that in yesterday's video, that there's not a lot of names anymore that have high short interest. Right? We're kind of close to the bottom of the barrel in terms of names that have high short interest. There's, at this point, there's a handful of them, because this is a theme that's been going on now for about, since basically last March. So this is not at the point where there's a ton of names with high short interest. There's if this goes on for another week, there won't be names with high short interest. They'll all be covered. So so then the question is, what happens then? Maybe, that money gets rotated back into, some other things. But also, on the bottom of the list, take a look at what the ARK funds did today, which have been the darlings of the market. ARKG Genomics was down almost 5% for the day. ARK Innovation was down over 3% for the day, and a couple of the other ones that are ARK funds too were also down a lot. So my point here is, I will tell you what I'm doing with this. Now, also know, of course, we've got a Fed meeting tomorrow, but this is why I kind of took risk off yesterday. I just saw that a lot, that it looked like some names were being rotated out of, and the breadth started to decline a little bit. So I just thought, in any event, that we've got clearly a couple big weeks of earnings, and it felt right for me to take some trades off. So again, if you didn't see yesterday's video, here's what I did. I took off what. And some of these were very profitable trades, and trades where I had taken 3 targets, and I was just taking the last piece of the trade off. Not all of them, a couple of them were stops too. TENB was a stop, but I took off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's the PBI, 9, 10. 11. So I took off 11 trades. So that was the other thing too. Like, I think if you're going to play this game with momentum, right, it's very difficult to manage that many positions. When a name like a Blink, right, goes up 32% in one day, right, you could really make a lot of money on this. And it helps to only be focused on maybe 1 or 2 of these names. I don't think that you could have focus on 7 or 8 of these names. Because some of them will come down just as fast as they're going up. Maybe not today, but that could happen at some point this week. So if you're going to traffic in these names, I think that you have to think about how many positions that you're going to have on with this, because again, there is no this time it's different. These will go down just as fast as they're going up. Again, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think that will happen too. So I will show you a couple names that I'm watching. Now that I've kind of de-risked a little bit, as you can see, I did quite a bit of day trading and putting on, some participation type trades. But a couple of these things like Tillery, I would never own a swing trade in Tillery. That it's just not one of the things that I like to do. I don't view it as a quality name, but I made some money in day trading a couple of these things. Netflix too was a quick scalp, so I'm in more of like a scalping mode, and taking advantage of the momentum. I saw what's his name, Portnoy from Barstool Sports. He sent out a video yesterday talking about adapting to, hey, this market is different for now, and I agree with that to some extent. And so that's also why I took down some positions. I have to adapt, right? I can't, I very much, what I like to own and trade is a lot of high quality names in multiple sectors. If the market is right for that. But if the market is not going to give me that, then I have to change what I'm doing, right? And that's basically what I've tried to do. Look, I even played this IRM, right? Another name which I think is a complete short squeeze. But I've made a little bit of money in it. Made a little bit of money, tiny money in LAZR. A couple names that I'm watching for tomorrow. Fubo. You could see is now, has made a nice higher low here with the 50-day moving average, and who knows? This could be another name that just decides to rip and go crazy for tomorrow. I like that you've got the support of 41.68. Another name that I did put on today is this Trumpanion. This is a pet name. Notice the consolidation here. It did not close on the highs today, but I'm looking for this thing to to take that next leg higher. that has to be, I kind of put on a preemptive position for now, but a breakthrough 123.79 would do it. I don't know if this name, I might as well check because that's what everybody's doing these days. Let's check to see what the short interest is. It's got about 9% of the short interest, right? So not as juicy as one of those, a name that it's got over 20 or 25%. Yeah, and then a couple other names that I'm watching, CELH, right? This is trying to turn the corner. Didn't exactly do it today, but a name that I'm watching for tomorrow. All right, guys, I'll leave it there. Just to kind of look at some of the names that reported after earnings. You got Microsoft, which again, really good numbers. They are holding the gains. I also saw Amazon get a lift on that. Right, Amazon again has been very quiet. I think the chart in Amazon looks fine. It just doesn't have the momentum, right? It's just not where the focus is right now. Maybe that will change a little bit in the next couple days. We'll see. Tomorrow we have to get through Fed meeting. Again, that's not till 2 o'clock. Remember the press conference, in my opinion. And by the way, this video is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice, recommendations, anything like that. But we'll see how that kind of shakes out. Again, what'll happen 2 o'clock tomorrow is the announcement, and then 2:30 is the press conference, right? And that's where all the whipsaw moves usually come from. Is that press the first announcement at 2, and then the press conference. I would say this too. With normally, it's not 100% because the last Fed meeting was very, very smooth, which is not normally how it goes. Usually the market is very whippy, meaning sometimes 2 o'clock the market will start to go one way. Then by the time Powell starts to speak, he says something and the market goes the other way. So be mindful of that. What I try not to do is chase the first move because we don't always end up going that way by the end of the day. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I have a couple other setups here, but I think we'll just kind of hold it there because I think tomorrow will be another interesting day. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow. Oh, yes, there was two other setups, two other things that I wanted to talk about. CrowdStrike, right? This is a name that I tried in the beginning of yesterday. Decided to stop myself out of the trade very quickly. This is getting to a point of interest, right? I would like to see this 204 VPOC being taken out. Twilio is another name too that really got beaten up today too, down almost 7%. And I think the more that these names kind of come in, I think they're going to start to look more attractive. So I'm not sure that this is just a 1 or 2 day thing going on here. We could be in the process of starting to see the market come in a little bit, even though it's being hidden a little bit, right? I talked about this market breadth. It's being hidden because everybody is watching these super high momentum, high short interest names, but this could start to reveal itself a little bit more in the next couple of days. And this was the point of why I wanted to de-risk a little bit, because I think that we'll start to see some good opportunities develop in the next couple of days to possibly week or two. All right, thanks for watching. Have a great night, everybody.